Bananas are an F tier fruit for me. They're like, I honestly
Don't agree
like
with that at
most
all.
fruit. I honestly like most fruit, although I really do prefer vegetables. But bananas they're at the bottom. They're like the lowest level of my fruit tier list.
I don't co-sign that at all.
Happy Tuesday, De Niro Nation, and welcome to Our Hero De Niro, the only podcast watching and recapping Robert De Niro's entire filmography in random order. I'm Mike, joined as ever by my co-host, Mike.
No relation.
And we are here today, so excited to be discussing the 2012 Rodrigo Cortés film, Red Lights, starring Robert De Niro. Mike, you ever heard of this film before we rolled it for the podcast?
Absolutely not. And it didn't bode well when we looked it up on Letterboxd. I think it has a 2.8 out of 5. So let me just say at the top, I watched this one with friend and former guest of the pod, Philip, aka Lips. And it was a very fun communal experience. He was able to witness me experiencing it raw and unfiltered. And
that is really fun.
I'm excited to share both mine and his reactions to the film as we go through your recap. I assume you had never heard of it either.
Oh, certainly not, no. So in addition to Robert De Niro, this film stars Cillian Murphy, Sigourney Weaver, Toby Jones, Jolie Richardson, Elizabeth Olsen, and I should have read down these names because I don't know how to pronounce this, but I am assuming it is Leonardo Baraglia or Baraglia. I'm assuming the S is silent in this. It starts with S. It's Sbaraglia.
Sure.
Right? It wouldn't be
I have no idea.
Spiralia. Spiralia, that wouldn't make any sense.
I've
but maybe.
mispronounced every name on this podcast. There's no way that I'll be able to correct you.
I try really hard to pronounce names correctly. I feel like it's such an essential thing to somebody's identity, you know? The film was scored by a gentleman named Victor Reyes, and DP was a gentleman named Xavi or Javi, Xavi Jimenez, Gimenez, just in case I'm mispronouncing any of these. And it's not a good sign that neither of these people have Wikipedia articles. Not what you want to see when you're looking at the production credits for a film.
Yeah. I have more to say about the production. I don't know what else I don't want to step on your feet.
Oh, no, go ahead. If you have other things that you want to say, you're good.
Yeah, for my research that I conducted after I watched the film, it sounds like this came out, it's had a Sundance premiere where it was met with a mostly negative reception. And so it had a very small theatrical release and was kind of dumped onto VOD. So it really didn't rise to any level of prominence.
That's kind of sad. I mean, not really, not in like actuality, but I mean, it's just kind of sad to think about. Like you make a movie and then it's on the award, it's on like the festival circuit. So you get that kind of like indication from audiences what they're going to think. And it just gets fucking dustbinned. That would be like a real bummer if you were the one producing and directing that thing.
They can't all be winners.
Yep. Should we get right into it?
Yeah, let's get right into it. I'm really excited to talk about this film.
I'm really happy that you are because I'm certainly not. So please feel free to fill in anything.
I honestly can't believe that. Okay, sure. Let's get into it.
When I told you that I thought that you were going to enjoy it, you may recall I was only halfway through it. And then when I watched the second half, let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
We'll see. Yep.
Let's talk about Red Lights.
Yeah.
I'm red, green colorblind. So... I have no way to verify that the lights are actually red.
You would be completely fucked if you were driving in one of those countries where they're reversed.
Oh my God.
Because, for any overseas listeners we have, Mike and I, we live in the United States. And so in the United States, the color from top to bottom of traffic lights is red, yellow, green. But some countries have it the other way. Right.
Wow. I don't know.
And so if you can't tell the difference between those colors, you would not be doing too well. That would not be a good situation.
They would think it's like a murder suicide for like me and whoever's in my car. They'd be like, well, why did he drive into the semi truck?
Oh, the light was green.
I'm gonna slam the gas.
So were there red lights in this film?
No, I feel like there were red balloons in one scene.
I didn't understand the title. We'll talk about it.
Let's get into it.
So the film opens with Cillian Murphy and Sigourney Weaver. They play characters named Tom and Margaret. Tom is a physicist and Margaret is a psychologist. And Margaret is senior to Tom. She's like a mentor to him. Just talk a little bit about their relationship. Driving down a country road, they arrive at a large kind of stately mansion, and they're shepherded in by a guy who seems really worried. And he says that he and his family aren't getting any sleep. Tom has an awkward exchange with a lady, and it turns out that she is a physicist as well. This is how it's revealed that Tom is a physicist, and they go upstairs. There's a little girl up there, and then they have some kind of a seance. And so
Yes.
we're given to understand here in this opening scene that Tom and Margaret are paranormal researchers of some kind. It's a little bit oblique the way this is all presented, but they are paranormal researchers whose thesis is to debunk the existence of paranormal phenomena, essentially. And so something happens in the seance and they debunk this supposedly paranormal thing that's happened. The details are not important. The opening credits play.
No. We got to stop.
Else you wanna say?
I have
Okay.
stuff I want to say everywhere. I can't.
All right. Yep.
This.
Okay.
I was hooked from scene number one. So Philip and I watched this
Jesus Christ.
upstairs
You
in
and me
my
had
apartment,
very different experiences
on
with
the
this film.
projector,
Yep.
and I had no idea what to expect because this is like a supernatural psychological thriller.
Yep.
And I wasn't sure.
Thriller. In air quotes.
Is this going to be a horror film? Is this going to be a psychological, whatever? And we're watching this first scene where it's Sigourney and Killian participating in this seance. That lady, I thought she wasn't a physicist. I thought she joked that she was a physicist. She said she was a hairdresser.
Oh yeah, did I miss the hairdresser
You
line?
missed
I
that.
thought she was serious.
She's like this.
There you go.
She's like this bubbly blonde woman who claims like she's the one leading this seance to evict the evil spirit. So they sit, the living room's dark. Everyone sits in a circle holding hands except for the guy's young daughter who's upstairs in her room. And when the seance begins, you missed all the color of this scene.
I guess so. Yep.
I was howling with laughter because so much is going on here. It's so overstimulating. From an audio-visual perspective, the camera is circling around all the characters. The table is lifting up off the floor. The father in the family is screaming in agony and fear, and the woman who's leading the seance, she's performing the seance and ostensibly talking to the ghost. But she sounds like the ghost is finger blasting her underneath the table. she's like, oh no, don't be so rough, Mr. Ghost. And it's the funniest thing. And like everything's clanging and it's so funny that Philip was watching in disbelief and I was just howling with laughter, like uncontrollably. I laughed more in that scene than I have laughed at multiple Robert De Niro comedies, like more than Analyze This, The Comedian, and The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight combined. No issue at all. And then afterwards, Sigourney and Killian deduce that it was a fraud.
Yep.
Sigourney confronts is a harsh word.
Mike.
Whatever.
Dr.
Margaret Matheson. Dr. Margaret, confronts the daughter and she says I was able to figure out that you and the hairdresser were in on this because you want to move out of the house. And I won't tell your dad as long as you don't do it again. So then they leave.
Okay. Yep. I have a question for you because, I skipped parts of my notes to hurry through that. And so I did have a note. And before I share this note, I want to ask, how would you describe the seance scene? Would you describe it as long or short?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I would describe it as intense and over the top. So I don't know if I didn't really feel its length because again, I was laughing uncontrollably because I thought it was so ridiculous. What a ridiculous way to start this film. Really, it was really good stuff.
It's pretty long. It's like 60 to 90 seconds long. And so what I noted about the scene that made me laugh was at the end of the scene, after it's been happening for like a minute and a half, and what you described is happening, right? Everybody's screaming, there's pounding, shit is shaking. After 90 fucking seconds, the little girl who was upstairs comes downstairs and she's like, I just heard a noise. And it's like, dude, there has been like a cacophony in the house for a minute and a half. Like you just came down. It would have taken her 15 seconds to get down there. Like it's totally absurd. Like they just needed to block the scene so that she came at the end so she wouldn't interrupt it. But like, was she walking from like the other side of fucking town? Like it sounds like the house is exploding. It was very strange. So then the opening credits play. You have anything to say about the opening credits, Mike?
That felt long to me. It was pretty funny. It was structured like like a network procedural TV series.
That's what I want to say about it. Yeah,
it really felt
like a network crime show. Like I felt like I was watching fucking Bones.
I had that thought where I was like, oh, this should have been like a 9 p.m. network procedural, next week on Red Lights. And it's just Sigourney and Cillian.
If you could have gotten Sigourney Weaver and Cillian Murphy for that kind of procedural, like network kind of bullshit, like thriller supernatural show, I honestly think it kind of would have popped off. Like if it was like this, I think this would have worked well as a lowbrow, like CBS primetime procedural.
Yeah, I think we could have done that.
They chose film. It's a shame they chose film as the release format for this.
Might have been too early to get Sigourney and Cillian Murphy.
That's right. TV didn't have the prestige right at the time that it did. It would be easy to get them now for something like that.
I mean, Cillian's been doing Peaky Blinders for the last decade, so.
Yeah, I will say, like, I've never watched Peaky Blinders, but I think that Peaky Blinders is probably a little elevated relative to what we're talking about.
Yes. Peaky
Blinders is like a serious prestige cable drama. I'm talking about Bones.
Yeah, network.
Like that's the kind of show that I'm talking about. Like Bones is the one I have in mind. All right. So the credits end, and we see a plane land, and on the plane is Robert De Niro.
Thank the Lord.
You want to tell us when the face reveal was?
Yeah, this is the only note I took in the entire film. His face reveal is somewhere between 11 minutes and 25 seconds and 11 minutes and 31 seconds, depending on whether or not you want to count. You see his face obscured by his dark sunglasses, but he does remove them, and you see that he's blind.
I wrote 11:25. I counted the dark sunglasses reveal. Yep. It's a private plane is the only important thing to note about this, other than to your point, the reveal that his character is blind. So he is a blind person who has a lifestyle that results in him flying on a private plane, essentially. We get a cut to Margaret teaching a physics class. A student asks her if she's ever come across something that couldn't be explained, and she responds with a list of a bunch of things that we do understand, but that seem fantastical. And her point being that the world is amazing, and if you don't understand how something works, it'll all seem like magic. And she says that after 30 years of investigating all kinds of phenomena, she's never witnessed anything supernatural. This was the moment where I became kind of confused. But I was, whatever. It doesn't matter. I found this movie really confusing, but I think it's really just because I'm an idiot. Like this happens sometimes. Like I feel like this has to be the fourth or fifth film that we've watched for the podcast that I just found so opaque from a plot perspective. Like it was just something about it that like didn't work with my brain. I don't know what it was. I learned things about this movie when I read the Wikipedia plot summary that I was like, when was that indicated in the text? But that's just a me thing. That didn't happen to you at all?
For this film? Okay. I'm not going to give away anything that happens later in the film, but I will say that I felt like I understood pretty well up until a point later in the movie. And I mean, at this point, it's essentially Sigourney Weaver and Cillian Murphy are paranormal debunkers who work for a college. And, just keep talking about it. I'll have more to say.
Sure. So we see a clip from a TV show with some guy doing supernatural shit. This is an odd choice that the film made. This guy is supposed to be Robert De Niro's character as a young man.
Oh, yeah.
But they've chosen an actor who really doesn't look like Robert De Niro. And so I had to glean that totally from context clues. I was like, what is this supposed to be?
Yeah, he's wearing the sunglasses. But yeah, the head shape is not a match. And we've seen I guess it beats CGI de-aging though, so I guess I won't complain.
Yeah, but it doesn't beat even the dumbass thing that they did in Stone, where they picked a guy who didn't even look like him, but at least they put the big mole on. Like they chose something that's like visual, like shorthand, right? For Robert De Niro. That mole is very distinctive.
It's really good
on his face. They didn't do that this time. It was Tom watching the TV. And we see him go out for milkshakes with Elizabeth Olsen. And while they're out, he sees another contemporaneous show on TV that says that the character Simon, who's the guy who's played by Robert De Niro, about whom he just watched the recording from before, is making a big return to whatever it is he does. And we have the vague understanding that he's some kind of psychic. Like he does some sort of paranormal shit.
Did you mention who Elizabeth Olsen is?
She's like Cillian Murphy's student, right? She's like maybe an undergrad or something like that. He's mentoring her.
So there, yes, I feel like, there's a scene where we see Sigourney and Cillian lecturing at a college or a university, and Elizabeth Olsen is one of the undergrad students that they're teaching, and you can tell Cillian Murphy is attracted to her. So that next scene of them in the diner is
Elizabeth Olsen
going out. Yeah, sure. Wanda herself. Be? Yeah. And I think it's so interesting, the world that is portrayed in this movie. It's like an alternate universe where psychics and psychic debunking seem to be the like most important things in the world. It's like Simon, Robert De Niro's character's return is like front page news on the newspaper. Psychics.
It's really funny.
Psychics sell to like sold out, theaters downtown, and they filmed in Toronto, but it's an unnamed city, giant city. And
even if it was Toronto, pretty big city,
right? Pretty big city, of course. Yeah,
downtown theater in Toronto, Ontario. Yep.
And it's so interesting that Sigourney and Cillian are teaching a class that seems to be all about paranormal debunking. Why is that a college class? What is this department? She's a psychology professor. So why is this is a full class that people are spending thousands of dollars on? And what are the running?
I will say.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Well, just later on, Sigourney Weaver makes a comment that their funding keeps getting cut.
Right.
So that does suggest that they're like cutting slightly against the grain, like in the academic setting, but yeah, it's not matched by anything we see on screen. You're right. It's just like, the screenwriter was like, well, shit, this really doesn't make sense. We should probably put some dialogue in here that will explain how it's not actually going so well for them.
Right.
Anyway, continue.
No, it's just, it's so weird that there seems to be entire classes in a department dedicated to this, but they're like underfunded. And there's a contrast between her character and Toby Jones's character, who's in a better funded department of the university that seems dedicated to scientifically studying paranormal phenomena. And I'm just thinking, like, what is this university? There's like
two departments for this.
It kind of feels like a superhero film where it's like you watch a Marvel movie and you just accept, you buy into the premise that superheroes are a thing in this version of New York City or whatever. And here you just have to buy into the premise that everyone really cares about psychics.
There's a term for this. You know what the term is?
I don't know. No, why don't you tell me?
It's suspension of disbelief.
Oh, yeah. I knew that.
It's like a thing.
I was overthinking it, guys.
Yes, that is correct. The film requires you to suspend your disbelief. But I think that a big part of what doesn't work about this film is that everything else about it seems too normal, And so we are at points in the film supposed to accept various fantastical things. For what it's worth, the thing you're talking about, I think, is actually one of the less fantastical things that we need to accept. But it's so strangely naturalistic.
Yes.
Like the way that it's shot, and everything else about the world seems so normal, and everything's so humdrum and whatever, that it makes it really hard. Whereas to your point, if you're watching like a sci-fi film or like a superhero film, it all seems a little fantastical, and it makes it a little easier to just buy into the idea that this is like a parallel universe where like one or two of the big rules are totally different. It really doesn't work at all. So what a movie. We see a picture or a scene of Margaret looking at a photograph of her with a boy wistfully, and her phone rings, and there's nobody on the other end of the line. And when she goes back to her tea and the picture, the spoon that was in the tea is bent, which I write was spooky.
Oh, yeah. Scary movie.
Yep. We see Margaret and Tom go to another family's house, kids having some supernatural problems or something. And the mother turns on really loud heavy metal music because it helps him. This scene made me laugh. I was it's fucking brain dead. And then
it all made me laugh,
while the heavy metal music is playing, we get a smash cut to Margaret and Tom driving away, bitching about the experience. This was the first point where I remarked on how little sense this was making to me. I wrote, what is happening in this movie?
Well, that scene made no sense to me because it's like the parents of this son, they claim that he had some special ability to, I don't know, like portraiture or something, like he was some sort of savant. that they had to play the music to trigger the ability or something, but he ended up never drawing anything. So we smash cut to them in the car. To them in the car, and Sigourney's like, they're complaining about what a waste of time it was or whatever. And I'm thinking, if you're the parents of this kid and, there are two options here. One, you genuinely believe that he has some supernatural ability, or two, you're a grifter and you want the world to believe that he has a supernatural ability. Why would you call two paranormal debunkers?
Right, like their whole role is to debunk. Yeah,
Right.
it really doesn't make any sense.
So
You're right.
it didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Are they like masquerading as serious researchers who aren't trying to debunk it? Like, yeah, you're right. I didn't even think of this, but it makes no sense. Like, why do they get to be in these situations?
Right.
Why would anyone ever invite them to do the things that they get invited to do?
Well, and they say they're not, like they say in the opening scene with the seance, they're like, we don't really do this as a service. It was hard for the guy to get in touch with them. And I'm thinking, like, how do they make money off of this? Or do they just take these hours long drives to random locations to sit around in someone's home for an hour and go, yeah, you're faking it.
Listen to loud heavy metal music.
Right. And okay, well, can you at least cover our gas? Because Sigourney drives like a 1982, sedan. Just like this thing gets 13 miles to the gallon.
It's like some old like Buick. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Yeah, I never thought of that. That's really good shit.
I was very intellectually stimulated by this film.
I'm really happy for you. On this drive, Margaret remarks to Tom that if she was on her own without his help, she wouldn't be able to do any of this, and wonders why he's doing this with her when he has so much promise as a physicist and could really do anything he wanted. And he doesn't answer the question, and I don't know the answer to that question. What's up with that? Oh, wait, we do find out at the end what
we
the
find
answer
out
to
at the end of the
question is,
movie,
right? Or
but
at least it's implied.
Yes,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
a really great question because I also wondered that, because he appears to be a talented physicist, but is functioning as Sigourney Weaver's de facto assistant and like
Her,
TA.
like, lackey.
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much.
yeah.
I was like, there's no
He's in a
way
totally
that's
different
paying the
field.
bills. Right.
You see him teach, and he's like a compelling teacher. He clearly has a strong mastery of his subject matter. He looks like Cillian Murphy. Like, this is like a guy who would be pretty successful, I think,
Yeah.
if this were what he was doing. And it's like, yeah, why are you Sigourney Weaver's lackey? Like, but it will be explained.
We'll
Not in a
learn
way
in
that makes
due
any sense,
time.
but yeah, we'll learn in due time. I certainly did not understand that twist until I read the Wikipedia article, by the way. So
Oh, really?
We'll
Oh
talk
my
about that more
God.
when we get it.
Okay, yeah,
I mean,
great.
I understood the twist. I just didn't understand what it meant. I didn't understand
Yeah.
how it fit into like the rest
Okay.
of the movie.
Gotcha.
The twist is said in dialogue. Like
Yes.
I understood the twist. Tom does not answer the question that Margaret asks him and responds instead by suggesting that someone else joins the team, and it's going to be Elizabeth Olsen.
Oh, it's
So,
great. Sigourney
there you
Weaver
go.
sees right through him. She's like, isn't she a little young? And,
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think you should bang your undergrad students when you're a TA or whatever the fuck he is.
Professor, yeah. I think it's worse if you're a professor.
Yes.
I think if you're a TA, like,
Maybe
it's
that's
probably
why.
still a
Maybe
little
that's why
shifty, but,
Cillian
like,
Murphy he's like, listen, I'm just the TA. He's like, honestly, I'm not even on the university's payroll. I just hang out here. So
right. I'm paying to be here, actually.
yeah,
So anyway, we cut to a scene of Elizabeth Olsen and Margaret sitting in a car, photographing people in the downtown area. Tom is returning to the car. He bumps into somebody and kind of surreptitiously lifts something off of them, and they head into a ritzy hotel.
massive crowd entering the arena for this show.
Yeah. It's got. I don't understand the method of the debunking here, but like the little thing he stole was something about debunking the guy whose show they're going into. Yep. So while they're in there, they see some mentalist giving a performance. Shout out to the Mentalist. What channel was that on? Was that a TNT show?
I think that was
USA?
CBS.
CBS. Yeah.
USA was Psych, man.
Imagine if that's right, because they were kind of about the same thing. Imagine if this show had been The Mentalist. How successful it would have been.
Yeah, I never watched The Mentalist.
Oh, nor did I. I watched Psych. Characters welcome, dude.
Yeah, this is the Italian Mentalist.
Yep. So I wondered about this. Can you explain this to me?
Probably not.
In this scene with the Italian Mentalist up on the stage, some lady walks up to him, and this is meant to be something that like proves that he is psychic. He like does something that makes her fall down, but it looked like he just pushed her. Like he just puts his hands on her shoulder and pushes her down, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's psychic!" And it's like, wouldn't looking at that you just be like, he just pushed her, like he like touched her shoulders and she fell down?
Yeah, but it's
nonsense.
no, I don't think it was about the push. He's doing faith healer bullshit where he's being fed lines. He's being fed information about people in the crowd. They're being specifically selected. So he has a little earpiece in his ear and is being told by his assistant that the woman who's coming up has stomach cancer. So he makes a point to reference her stomach and says, you're not going to be sick anymore. And that's when he shoves her to the ground and says, you're healed.
I have some great notes for you for my notes here that are going to explain all of this.
Okay.
Looks like the entire act is being stage managed by folks in some kind of AV box.
Yes.
Okay. They were missing the little red book that Tom lifted from the guy outside at the beginning of this paragraph.
Yeah.
Quote, my note. So there you go. So that little red book was some reference material that the manager in the AV box needed to feed the mentalist information. Yeah. So that's why it all falls apart, because he's missing some of the information that he was going to be fed from that book.
Yeah.
Next scene.
No.
Simon didn't.
No.
Oh, go ahead. Sure.
You're missing the delicious flavor. You're the delicious reduction that we're making here.
I'm happy that you're here. Yeah, this is great.
I'm also happy that I'm here because you're missing everything that makes these scenes so great. In this scene, when Sigourney Weaver, Elizabeth Olsen, and Tom are doing like Mission Impossible shit to get into this show and conduct their debunking. And when they enter, it's treated so self-seriously. And when they enter the building where the show is being hosted, they link up with the local police. This is a coordinated effort with the local police force to debunk an international mentalist. It makes no sense. Why is the local police force involved in this? Why is there a sting operation being conducted on some faith healer who's just performing a show in their town? Do you really think the police would care at all? Like,
well, it'd be bad for economic development. I mean, he's drawing people downtown. They're going to go out to dinner. They're going to...
Well, and like, yeah, it's bullshit that preys on the weak and vulnerable, but it's like, it's not illegal, right? Like to,
I wouldn't think so.
Have a show, right? I'm sure it would just be classified as entertainment. Yep. But they coordinate and they go into their little control room and they find the radio signal where the assistant is feeding information to the Italian guy, and then they bust into the control box where the assistant is with the police, and they arrest everyone, and then that's how they debunk the guy. And I'm just thinking like. What is this world where we have local enforcement like debunking mentalists? It's so interesting. And if that's the case, and all of this shit is so culturally significant, where one, the mentalist is playing to a sold out, arena of thousands of people, and two, it's so important to debunk these people that like the police are in on it. Why is Sigourney Weaver not being properly funded by her university?
Right. It's like you would think like, you would think some federal agency would be engaged and there would be a very well-funded operation that, to your point, would probably be some kind of public-private partnership where like universities had a lot of funding for this research and like industry would probably be involved.
Right. Like in the TV show Hannibal, which would be a great recommendation if I were to recommend a TV show, which I won't. They have their behavioral unit or whatever at the FBI that Jack runs. And it's just, you're in this alternate world built on the premise that there are so many serial killers in the world that they're like enough to justify the existence of this department. And they're able to just like track one down every single week. Why isn't there a department like that in this world of red lights? Why doesn't Sigourney have an entire team? Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that you're kind of seizing on here like what my issue was, which is that I don't think I was skeptical enough of this stuff. And so I think that made me not understand the movie. I think like all of this stuff seems like nonsense. And I was like, well, surely it does make sense, right? I must just be missing something that would explain it. But to your point, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like there is no explanation.
Well, tonally, this is a dumb movie that thinks it's smart. This is not elevated horror or whatever. This is a dumb movie, but I think it has pretensions of being more intelligent than it is, which to me makes it incredibly funny. I've complained a lot on the podcast and just offline to you about my dislike of elevated horror because it's smart. Like movies like Hereditary or Midsommar, they're smart. They are smart enough to be about an issue and they make the analogy and it's all very competently done, but to the point where it's just boring because it's like, well, I get it. I get what the analogy is and I'm very bored by how this is 2.5 hours long. This is a movie that is not smart enough to have a clear thesis, but somehow thinks it's about something greater than it is. And I really don't think it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. You clearly understood this movie a lot better than I did. Are you done with the scene now?
Yeah, I'm done with this scene. Now, listen, man, I was operating on that.
This is a great
that red light frequency.
You are. I was just about to say you are operating at like a very high level.
This movie was made for me, Rodrigo Cortez. Please reach out to the podcast, buddy. I'd love to talk to you.
We would love to have you on the pod. So we see Simon De Niro on an interview show.
What was his last name? It wasn't Simon Says. What was it? It was Simon something.
Simon Says. It is Simon Silver.
Oh yeah, it's really good. Love the alliteration.
And he bends spoons too.
Yes.
Silver spoons.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's also it's got a more sort of literal referential nature to it as well. They're talking about him being disgraced. Did you understand how he got disgraced? I never learned or understood. What it was.
He chose to retire 30 years ago after an incident at a major show where I guess his most prominent critic at the time was in attendance and suffered a heart attack and died. And the jury was out. People didn't know whether or not it was his doing or an unfortunate coincidence, and he just chose to retire after that.
Interesting. Well, what a story it is. We see Margaret and Tom walking and talking, having a conversation about a photo of a levitating man, something that they're gonna debunk. I wrote here, this movie has some really terrible dialogue, which it really does. I really started to feel it here in this moment.
Yeah.
There's lots of expository dialogue.
Yes.
Lots of expository dialogue.
The script is rough, and Philip at one point said that he didn't really enjoy Cillian Murphy's performance in the film, but I disputed that. I think the cast in this movie is overqualified for the material. And I mean, I think Sigourney gives the best performance here by a country mile, but I thought Cillian Murphy was really good. It's just
he's a great actor.
Some of the dialogue that he has to deal with is rough. And I think a lot of the direction choices are rough. And there's one in particular I hope to highlight later in your recap, assuming you mention it.
Nope. No one's going to stop you from highlighting anything. We see Margaret get into a little bit of a disagreement with who's that actor you mentioned, with Toby Jones's character, right? Toby Jones had met with one of these ostensible psychics and believed that he was psychic because he was able to tell what symbol was on the other side of an overturned card.
Yeah.
And the way that he was looking at the cards was by Toby Jones holding up the card and just showing him the back of it while he could see the front of it. And Sigourney Weaver figures out that he was seeing the reflection of the symbols in Toby Jones' glasses.
It's awesome.
And I said that.
Yes.
As soon as the scene started, I said it out loud. I was like, you
really
can see
good.
it in the reflection. It's so obvious. How dumb is this Toby Jones character?
It's unfortunate. I mean, Toby Jones is a great actor. Always nice to see him, but his character is such a shitty scientist in this movie. It's really funny stuff.
So then we get a scene of Margaret on a talk show with a couple of other people seemed like involved in the paranormal industry. But one of the people is Simon Silver's agent. And Margaret and Simon Silver's agent get into a disagreement on this talk show. It looked like maybe it was like a daytime talk show or something. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I have more to say about this after you say your piece about it. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to describe what happens in the scene. And they end up getting into this really heavy discussion where Simon's agent asks Margaret if she believes anything, and Margaret talks about being non-religious. And throughout the scene, you can just tell that Margaret is getting more and more agitated by the line of inquiry. And Tom and Elizabeth Olsen's character are watching it on TV. So we're kind of getting cuts between the place where it's actually happening and them watching it on TV. And Tom's like, don't get upset, like essentially calling the progression of the way she's going to handle it. And she just totally blows up and handles the interview really poorly and kind of discredits their position on air.
Yes. So great job covering that scene. A couple of thoughts came to mind here when I was watching the film. One, again, this is like more evidence that they're in some alternate universe where this psychic shit is the most important thing ever. Like, why?
It's
why
like
is
the
this,
Oprah show.
It's like a round table discussion show. But for whatever reason, Margaret is the only person who's on the debunking side of, everyone else is pro psychic, whatever. And I'm thinking that seems pretty unbalanced. Even the host seems to be on their side. So I think poor choice on Margaret's part participating in this sham of a show. But the other thing is, this was such a funny choice that even Philip commented on it when we cut to Tom and well, I don't know, whatever the fuck their names are. When we cut to Cillian Murphy and Elizabeth Olsen, they're like sitting on Cillian's bed watching TV or whatever. They're sitting on someone's bed watching the TV. And clearly Rodrigo Cortez told him to play it like he's watching the Super Bowl. And it's so funny. He's like providing color commentary to Elizabeth Olsen. And he's like, oh no, don't get boxed in. Don't get boxed in. And then she's like saying things.
Really
and he
funny.
literally, he leaps up off of his seat and he's yelling at the TV like he's watching a playoffs game. It's so funny. I was like, man,
really good.
Really interesting choices are being made here. But again, I found all of this incredibly captivating. There's something to say about the pacing of this film, just its audiovisual presentation. It moves like a superhero movie. It has more in common with the audiovisual language of a Nolan film than what you would expect a psychological thriller or an elevated horror or some sort of subtle, unsettling film like that to have. The music, the score is bombastic. It is propulsive. It really carries this film in a way that like it wasn't scary at any point. It was really funny, but like it felt I felt like I was watching a superhero film more than I felt like I was watching a psychological thriller in a way that I found really endearing, but I don't think that was necessarily intended by the creative staff of the film.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very well said.
Were you bored during this film?
Yeah, I was pretty bored during this film.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. I don't think that it affected me the same way it affected you. I'm really happy for you, though.
Yeah. Oh, no. I wasn't bored at all. And actually, later in the movie, Philip did say, it's certainly holding my attention.
All right.
You know?
Yeah, it wasn't holding my attention.
Wow.
That's great. I'm really happy for you guys. I probably would have had a much better time with it if I'd watched it with you guys, honestly.
I mean, he wasn't reacting the way that I was. I was howling with laughter during that first scene. That would have happened regardless of whether or not he was, 5 feet away from me watching it.
He's not a very expressive guy.
I don't know, man. Have you heard him on the podcast?
Fair enough. Well said. So Tom is really pissed about the way this interview went. And to your earlier comments, he shows Margaret a news article, I believe on the first page, about her TV dumbassery. So there was a news article written about her embarrassing her position on this TV show. And Margaret gives a monologue about someone whom we've either been told or will be told was her son, David, quote unquote, falling over suddenly. And it's kind of implied that Simon had some involvement with whatever happened to her son, or maybe something that didn't happen to her son. But this was all very unclear to me at this point in the film. Did you understand what was going on? Like what the relationship was between Margaret, her son, and Simon at this point in the story?
It's not made explicitly clear at this point in the film.
This was when it all started to really fall apart for me here. This is the scene.
Okay.
So now we get a scene of Simon delivering a talk. It's similar to the talk that we saw the Italian mentalist giving before, where it's in a sold-out auditorium.
Oh, yeah, I'm really excited about this.
Yep. We see him dig his finger into an unconscious man's fat belly and say, "You are cured." And Tom is there. He goes into an AV booth, and in the booth, he flips a switch, and then a bunch of shit explodes for some reason. What happened here? Or like, what are you? Because I think I understand now what happened here. Like now that I know the twist at the end of the movie. But what are you supposed to think happened here? Like as a viewer?
Yeah, I mean, it's so confusing because what De Niro is doing makes no fucking sense. Like I get the Italian guy doing the stereotypical faith healer thing of like
faith healer
I'm just
shit.
I'm gonna bop your forehead or whatever.
Demons be gone.
Yeah, exactly. But what De Niro does, they cart this unconscious fat guy out on stage, and De Niro like rinses his hands in a bowl of water, and the guy has a gaping open wound on like the side of his belly, and De Niro literally gets all up in this guy's guts and just roots around for a few seconds, and then he pulls his hands out and he's like, "You are healed," and it's like, what? Like, what did the guy come in for?
He rinses his hand off in the clean water.
Right. I imagine the guy like he's like, I came in for chronic neck pain. Like, why did you root around in my stomach? So that was already, I was very confused by that. But yeah, everything, all the lights shatter and break and explode. And I thought to myself, the only thought I had during that was, there's no way De Niro could get insured for that during his show. That doesn't make any sense because you have shit falling on audience members, like pieces of glass. So I found that very confusing in the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you could get insurance.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
If this was your job,
Right.
like in general, but maybe in this universe you can, because apparently it's a very important thing.
Oh, you mean like
to
just
like be a mentalist?
the faith healing?
Maybe there's like special umbrella policies for mentalists in the universe of red lights. It would be very expensive because I just feel like the actuarial value would be so high of something happening. Like
Yeah.
it's just like the insurance policy would be incredibly expensive, prohibitively expensive. It seems like, but who knows? So you didn't understand
At
in
the
this
moment, no.
Like, it didn't make any sense. Okay, yep.
It's very dramatic.
So, yep. In the next scene, now we see Tom walking around and he's all bloodied. So he's injured from the explosions that happened in the in the booth that he was in. He gets a call. And he kind of rushes away very suddenly, and it turns out that Margaret has collapsed. And we see him sitting with her in the hospital. Elizabeth Olsen comes to visit him, and he's just really, really upset about Margaret, essentially.
Wait, how did you just describe that? You said he got a call?
Yeah, doesn't he get a call and then he rushes like away suddenly? Like he like gets a call and we don't hear who's on the other end. And he's like, oh shit, I gotta go. And then he rushes away, and it turns out that Margaret's collapsed. Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, he returns to the office. They operate out of like a university basement, and he finds her collapsed on the ground. So, yeah. Philip, write into our hero De Niro. Write into our hero De Niro at gmail.com. Please
the
confirm.
only other person who's seen this film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, he finds her lying on the ground, and then he calls 911, and then he's teaching the class by himself, and a faculty member comes, brings him outside, and
That's what it was. I was conflating. That was from memory. I was conflating those two things. I knew that there was a moment when he was silently informed
if
that
only
something had happened. That
you were taking notes. And the reason
this is a 25 paragrapher, just so you know.
The reason this stood out to me was because Philip didn't understand the visual language of the scene. But that's a thing in movies. When someone is receiving bad news about a death, it's behind, like you can't hear the conversation, but it is, you can tell based on the visual.
What it is.
You can tell that she's dead, which I thought was a crazy choice, because she really,
I agree.
She was like the emotional core of the film for the first half.
Yeah.
And to kill her off.
Yeah.
Really weird.
I mean, listen, the first half is bad and the second half is much worse. So it's not better for her absence.
Yeah. It becomes more focused on Cillian Murphy's character, but the appeal of the first half was his dynamic with Sigourney. So weird to abandon that.
Yeah. Okay. So there's just one thing that I want to say about the scene. You already described it. You described the next paragraph that I have, which is the scene of him teaching the class and the person comes to tell him that Margaret died. But I just want to allude to one thing that happens in the scene, which is that what the lecture is about how every hard science has a counterpart pseudoscience, like astrology for astronomy, what's the word for fake medicine? Homeopathic medicine for physical science based medicine, etc.
Did you mention that we met Sigourney's son earlier in the movie?
I don't think I caught that we met Sigourney's son earlier in the movie. When did that happen?
Oh my God. How, whatever. It doesn't matter. Earlier in the film, we get a scene in it's like a private hospital room, and Sigourney Weaver delivers a monologue to Cillian Murphy about her son David, who is in the hospital bed. He's comatose. He's an adult. He's comatose. It's implied he never woke up from that fall that he had as a kid. But she chooses to keep him on life support because she doesn't think there's anything after death, essentially. If she was religious, then she would have let him go, but it's too painful to let him die without there being anything on the other side, essentially.
It's interesting.
And now she's also
blacked
dead.
out for that scene.
I don't really, whatever. I don't even care anymore. I don't even care.
I don't understand how it's possible. I feel like the movie would have made a lot more sense to me if I'd. Well,
there's a moment later on that I will want to comment on, so it's very important to have that knowledge.
Yep. Well, thank you for laying that out. Yep. So we see Tom. He goes to visit the Italian mentalist from earlier in prison. And they have a conversation about how the Italian mentalist used to work with Simon Silver, but apparently it was when he was much younger. He was 17 years old. And so the Italian mentalist makes the point essentially that it doesn't really matter. He doesn't have any information on Simon Silver that he could offer to Tom.
Well, this is awesome. I feel like you're going to skip ahead. I feel like this is an awesome scene. for two reasons. One, the scene ends with the Italian guy. As Tom walks out, the Italian guy's yelling about how dangerous Simon is. He's like, whatever. So, which is great. But also, I love that it's essentially like a Hannibal Lecter scene thrown into this very dumb psychological thriller. Like, wait a second.
Really good, yep.
I don't know what the timeline is for this film, but it's been long enough to where the Italian mentalist has been tried, convicted, and thrown behind bars in prison. For like in their city, he's been thrown in a local prison or maybe I don't really know how it worked out, but
yeah, he could have traveled for it, right?
Yeah, I guess so. And I just thought it was so funny that like they had to throw in this scene of Cillian Murphy sitting down across from this villain and going like, "Help me understand the main bad guy of the film." It was so funny that this film thought to do that sort of thing. It's so goofy.
And so now we see Tom parked outside of the theater. He appears to be kind of tailing Simon. As he's driving, tailing Simon after he leaves the theater, he gets distracted and almost rear ends some road workers. And then he sees the lady, Simon's assistant, from the interview with Margaret, walking down the road and gets distracted by seeing her and almost mows down some lady pushing a shopping cart across the street. And she walks away, but then we get a smash cut and she's suddenly back at the car, the lady whom he almost ran down. And when he opens the window to talk to her, she spits on him. And so we're starting to, I think in this moment, get a little bit of visual language that is meant to indicate like Tom's not totally with it. You know, like he's losing time. Like there's some weird shit is going on for him psychologically.
He's at an emotional low point because his mentor died.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're at an emotional low point because your mentor died, does that mean that you like lose time? Like, I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think he lost time. I think he wasn't looking where he was driving.
No. I'm talking about the part after that where he sees her walk away, but then he's startled by her knocking on the window and she spits on him. That's the part I'm talking about. Like that seemed like almost like an hallucination on his part. Like that was the way I read it. Like he either hallucinated her spitting on him or hallucinated her walking away in the first place. There was tension between like what happened and then the immediate thing that happened afterward.
Okay.
And then in the next shot. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. But he's just distracted. I think that's what's that is what caused the nearly mowing down. We see him at home, and to my earlier comment, now he's having an out-of-body experience. He's floating over himself in bed, looking down, and he suddenly awakes as if from a nightmare. Do you have anything you want to say about that?
Well, are you going to say more about this scene? Because it goes on. Is this where he's with Elizabeth Olsen?
Yes.
Yeah, there's more to say here.
And then when he wakes up, he's in bed with Elizabeth Olsen.
2 a.m.
And at 2 a.m., sure. And he leaves abruptly without her. She wants him to take her with him, but he insists that he's not going to. And he walks around the area in kind of an insane way, like around the area of his home. And then when he comes back, she's really angry at him and his whole apartment is torn up.
Yeah.
His TV turns on suddenly, and news on the TV announces that Simon Silver has agreed to participate in a scientific study, which is going to be put on by Toby Jones's character from earlier. Tom confronts Toby Jones angrily.
Nope, stop again.
Go ahead.
Yep, okay.
Sure.
You just assume that I have something to say after every scene in this recap.
Okay. Yeah.
It's fascinating because I feel like you have two speeds of recap. It's like movie you care about, like Goodfellas, and you make it like 2 hours long. And then there's like movie you don't care about, and it's like 40 minutes of haphazard Rochambeauing. But
it's the two genders.
Cillian Murphy. This whole scene is so bizarre, and it's going to be so much more bizarre in retrospect. So I really want to highlight it. He has this out-of-body experience where he sees himself sleeping and floats down as if he's about to smooch himself. And then he wakes up in a panic. He wakes up in a panic at 2 a.m. and he wakes Elizabeth Olsen up, and strange things are happening. I think like there's a common motif of dead birds hitting windows in this film. I think like that happens. So he gets up and he runs outside of his sweet Toronto loft barefoot, and he's yelling for Simon like a crazed lunatic. Simon! And he steps on glass and his foot's bleeding, and Elizabeth Olsen is like waiting for him on the stoop. And she's like, "Don't leave me here." And he comes back and she's like, "I didn't want you to leave me, and you did." And they look back inside the apartment and everything's fucked up. Like papers are everywhere. Everything's knocked over. And that's when the TV turns on. Cillian Murphy's like, "This must be Simon's doing." And I just really want to put a pin in that scene for later. Okay. It's important. The details are important.
I mean, I understand what the scene means, but
Yeah, you just didn't describe it in that level of detail. So that's why I wanted to be known for the listeners, the great citizens of De Niro Nation.
Sure, whatever.
It will feed into my final thoughts on the movie.
I'm really happy for you. We get some more news position about the way the study is going to be conducted.
Philip
There's
did
lots
call
of
out
news
the news
position in
position,
this
yeah.
final 30 minutes of the film. Yeah, we get like 4 news position scenes to explain
much.
all this
But
pointless
again,
bullshit that's
the
gonna happen.
psychic
Yep.
shit is like,
news.
nightly news level.
It's like
it's so weird.
Dan Rather is going to come out and talk about the happenings in the mentalist community in Toronto, Ontario. Yep. Simon arrives and he expresses. Okay, so I should describe the scene a little bit differently. So we get the news position of the way the study is going to be, and then we cut to the start of the study. And you got Toby Jones there, you got Tom there, you've got Elizabeth Olsen there, and you've got a couple of other random lackeys there. And then Simon comes in with his assistant, the lady with whom Margaret had the altercation on TV. And as soon as Simon arrives, he's like immediately magnetized toward Tom in a really weird way. And he like walks up to him and gets like really, really close to his face and then gives him like a weird hug, right? It's very strange, this scene. Yep. And I predicted a twist here. And I was correct in predicting it.
Yeah.
Should I say it or should I wait until it's revealed?
Sure. I don't know. Say it, whatever. Sure.
I predicted here that Simon can actually see.
Yeah.
Which will be revealed as the truth. Yes.
Yeah.
When did you predict that Simon could see?
I wasn't sure during the whole thing, but I did wonder, like, is this an act? The reason I didn't believe it until it was finally revealed to us as an audience was because the first time we're introduced to Simon, we see his eyes underneath his sunglasses, and they're that glassy, the glassy color that someone's eyes would be if they're blind. So I guess it's all part of the illusion that he's crafting, like in case someone sees his eyes through his sunglasses, he must put contacts on or something. But that threw me off the scent.
But not all blind people's eyes look like that, do they?
I don't know.
I don't think they do.
Oh. Well, then I don't know.
So I found that odd. Like, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I guess I don't know a lot of blind people, so I could be mistaken, but like, I think that if you just didn't look like that, I think you'd just be like, oh, I guess he's just one of those blind people whose eyes don't look like that. Like, it's a different type of blindness. I'm not sure. Because there are different phenomena in your eye that can cause blindness, right? I mean, it could be the retina, could be something with the what's the outside of the eye called? The, not the cornea. Or it could be something with like the optic nerve. Like it could be like something in your brain. Like, I don't know. I feel like you could just be like, oh, a different kind of blind guy. I don't know. I don't know much about blindness. If you know a lot about blindness or if you are blind, please write into ourherodeniro@gmail.com and let us know if you would actually need to do this. If you were a mentalist faking blindness. We get more news position about the way they are going to do the testing. And there's a lot of different things that they're doing. But the most important thing that matters for the way this study is going to be done of Robert De Niro's character is part of it is he is going to be isolated from an associate of his. He'll be in one booth, Simon will be, and his associate will be in another booth. And his associate is going to press a numbered button. Which button he presses, Simon would have no way to know. And Simon is going to push the button that he thinks he pressed. And they're going to do this enough times that it like couldn't just be random if he gets it right enough, essentially.
Yeah, they show this. They present the tests through like essentially like almost like newsreel footage. It's the recorded footage that Toby Jones is taking of all of the experiments. And during the first test, they show Robert De Niro take his watch off. He has like a special watch where the top can like lift up, and they show him take it off, and he puts his hands on the table, and they conduct these tests, whatever. We see him bend a stream of water, stuff like that. But when we see him take I don't know if you were going to mention him taking the watch off. It was a very like deliberate focus of that shot. What I wondered then was, why wouldn't they make him wear like a uniform of some sort? Like, hey,
yeah,
thanks for coming in here, and we're gonna make you wear like
jumpsuit.
Right, like we're gonna make you wear like a medical gown, or like we got you a sweatsuit or something. Like this is part of the controls for this, because they said like, oh, we tested everything. Like his clothes are fine, his watch is fine, and it's like
why test him? Just make him change.
Like, yeah, how could you know that? Like, why wouldn't you just make him change into some normal like standard set of clothing? I thought that was really again, Toby Jones not very good at his job.
No, not a very good scientist. So the point is they do three different things, right? There are three things that we are shown. One is the thing that I described with the two people pressing the numbered buttons, Simon and his associate. He passes that one. He's able to do it correctly. Another one is that he is able to project an image onto a metal plate that is perceived by a camera in a photograph.
Oh, yeah.
But it only works with one camera. There's like one film camera that it is detectable by and two digital cameras that it's not detectable by. And the third one is, and this one really made me laugh, is he says that he can bend metal with his mind, but then he's not able to do it and he has to touch it a little bit. And they say on the news position that they can't validate for sure whether he just has really strong fingers. And it's like, I think you'd just assume he had really strong fingers.
Yeah.
Like, it's like if you said, hey, prove to me that you're psychic. And I said, oh, sure, I can bend this spoon with my mind, but only if I'm touching it. I think you would very rightly be like, oh, no, I think it's to do with your touching it. I don't think it's to do with you being psychic. The study is over, and they're going to validate the results of the study, but we leave the study scene thinking like he probably proved that he's psychic. That's kind of the way that it seems, or at least left some doubt in people's minds that he's like definitively not psychic. It seems like he may have psychic powers.
Yeah, Toby Jones says that he like his results are greater than what can be explained by random chance. So he basically says, I'm going to publish these results that are proof of his abilities.
Yes. So Tom is really pissed about this, and he's at Simon's show. We see a bunch more news position announcing that the results of the scientific study will be revealed at the same time as Simon has the show tonight that Tom is at.
Here's a great question. Why would you host a press conference to discuss these scientific study results on like a Saturday night?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really good question. Maybe it's a matinee. Maybe it's like a weekday matinee, like a Monday matinee or something.
Yeah, yep. I guess.
They do matinees on Mondays sometimes, and on Fridays, I think they sometimes have matinees.
I mean, listen, it's his final show ever before he retires. You think he was doing it at 2 p.m.?
It'd be pretty funny. I mean, maybe that's one of the rules in this universe, right? Maybe in this universe, psychics are real. You know, and also the time of day that is associated with like prestige and civilization is the afternoon, not the evening. Could be. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Say what you're going to say next, because I might have to interrupt you again.
Oh, I love that. Simon does his show, and he like levitates. And then Tom, watching from the audience, leaves to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, okay. Missing a couple of details here. One,
all right. Yep.
After the apartment scene where everything gets all fucked up in Tom's sweet loft, he drops Elizabeth Olsen off at her parents' house because he says, like, shit's getting too real. It's not safe for you. You need to stay away from this. So she's not in the movie at this point. So before Tom goes to attend Simon's final show, he recruits another student from his class to basically review all of the synced up footage that Toby Jones recorded of the Simon experiments. And he tells his students, you only have until this press release to find proof that Simon is faking it.
Right.
Like it all hinges on this. I'm going to leave now. See you later. When that happens, Tom goes to the show and Elizabeth Olsen returns from her parents' house and works alongside her peer to try and identify evidence that Simon's a faker.
They're watching a ton of video footage from the from the study being conducted, right? Okay, yes,
kind of key to the climax of the film, but yes. Then Tom attends the show.
Well, I am going to describe what the insight from it is, of course. But sure, the method by which they will come to that insight is important.
Tom in the bathroom.
Yes, so Tom is in the bathroom, and one of Simon's goons is in the bathroom, and they get into a fight, and Tom initially brutally bashes his assailant's head into a porcelain sink, which I thought meant the guy would be out of commission, honestly. But somehow the guy is totally fine, and he gets up and overpowers Tom and beats him very badly.
Yeah, okay. Here's a question for you. What was the point of this scene? So Tom's in the bathroom. Tom's in the bathroom, and the big goon is there, who's like a foot taller than Tom, and it seems like the implication here is that they don't want Tom at Simon's final show, right? So either, if you're the goon, if you're the security team here, I assume your options are either kill Tom or kick him out of the venue, right?
Bounce him.
But right, exactly,
Like,
bounce him.
yeah.
But instead, this fight ensues, and the head goon, like, he's choking Cillian Murphy out. They scrap for a while. It's really, it's a really long, drawn out, painful fight scene. But then the goon just kind of like lets Tom leave.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
So what was accomplished by because like if you're Tom, you either have the option to go back into the show like he does, or find a security guard at the front of the venue and say, hey, some guy just nearly tried to kill me. Like, I don't understand what the point of this altercation was from the goon's perspective. It made no sense to me.
A lot of sense.
And
there's really no explanation.
And given the twist that is to come, I think that scene should have played out a little differently. That's all I'll say right now.
I agree. Yes, I agree. Okay, so to your point, the goon just lets Tom leave, and then we see that Elizabeth Olsen and whichever of her classmates she's working with, they've figured it all out. So Simon did fake his positive results on the number matching test. The way that he was doing it is the reason why Simon wears a watch is because he isn't actually blind. He can actually see. And he and his associate, who was in the other booth for the number testing thing, they synchronize their watches, and there's something, they don't say like what hand it's indicated by, but there's something about what time it is when the associate presses the button that lets Simon know what number button it is that he pressed. And so it's all decided by the synchronized watches, essentially. And that's not the twist, but that's the twist about how Simon is faking his
Simon is actually not a psychic.
Yes.
Yeah, which again, I just couldn't believe that after we watched him take his watch off, at the beginning of the experiments.
Let him wear the watch.
Why did they let him put it back? Even if they said it looks like a normal watch, whatever, why would you let him wear it? What benefit does it?
Yeah.
Like what? Hey,
like he really isn't going to need to, and they try to justify it by saying like, oh yeah, some blind people, they like feel the hands, so they know like what time it is. But like he doesn't need to know what time it is while he's doing the study for 12 minutes.
Right.
Just have him ask what time it is if he needs to know.
Wouldn't you have him like you're going through airport security? Wouldn't you just have him put his cell phone, his watch, his wallet into a box and say like, hey, like a tray, and say, hey, we'll give it back to you at the end of the day after all the experiments.
Yes.
We'll have a break after a couple of hours and you can reply to your text messages or whatever. Yeah. Exactly. You can check your mechanical watch. Yeah. So crazy that's what it all hinged on.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So that is revealed. And Tom confronts Simon at his show in front of the audience after this is revealed to Tom. And while they're having their conversation, Tom like freaks out. And when he freaks out, all of the explodey psychic shit that happened earlier happens again.
Yeah. Two things here. Two things here. One, Tom walks out very dramatically, into the middle of the audience and starts yelling at Silver, who's on stage. And I thought to myself, and I told Philip this afterwards, Silver's mic'd up. He's playing to an audience of thousands. Would anyone even hear Cillian Murphy yelling from the crowd? So whatever, that's one thing. But the other thing too is it's still ambiguous here because Tom's, he's all busted up and bruised and he keeps walking towards Simon, and Simon is really threatening him. He's like, don't come any closer. You'll regret it. You'll really regret it. So when everything explodes, I think it's still ambiguous as to what the cause of this is.
Yes.
Happy to help.
But it will be made explicit, right?
Oh, very shortly.
So essentially via narration, right? That's kind of the way it's all revealed at the end. We get some Tom narration where he reveals that what happened is he's actually psychic.
Yeah.
Tom. He's not in control of his psychic powers. They are physical manifestations of heightened emotional states that he gets into. And so, like, think about earlier when he was in the AV booth discovering what he was discovering and all the shit exploded. Think about when he was having his frantic walk around his neighborhood screaming for Simon, how upset he was. That's when all the shit exploded in his house. And then think about in this scene where he's upset screaming at Simon when all the shit explodes. It's all just essentially like overflowing energy from Tom, who has these psychic powers that he doesn't know how to control. And so he reveals this all in narration and also reveals that, to our earlier discussion, the reason why he does this work is because he really wants to find an explanation for what's happening to him other than that he's psychic, since he doesn't believe in that stuff. But now he realizes there is no explanation. He actually is psychic, and he really wishes that he had told Margaret when she was still alive so she could know there was something real that was paranormal and let her son die. The end.
Well, yeah, he lets the son die. He kills the son.
I don't remember that either.
It was during that final. The monologue's crazy because we get flashbacks to earlier in the movie, which is so funny. It's like, listen, we saw this shit 45 minutes ago. We don't need the montage, but I guess we do because the twist is from so out of left field. But he's delivering the monologue about how he wanted to work with Matheson essentially to try and find someone else like him, but they just kept debunking, and it turns out there was no one else like him. So now he's all alone. It seems he's inherited Margaret's old 80s Buick, and we see him turn off the life support for the son. There you go. And he lets him pass. And I just thought to myself, he had power of attorney over this guy's life.
I assumed, because now I do remember seeing it, that he was just there. He just snuck in and did it.
He just snuck in, and it's so funny. All he does is turn one dial, and I'm like, was that the keep alive dial?
It's like the life dial.
It's a life dial.
It's actually it's got two values, alive and dead.
Yes, and during the climax, I actually liked the cinematography of this film. Listen, it wasn't like the best or anything, but I thought it was quite competent for what it was. But during the climax of the film, when everything is shaking and exploding, it's so funny because the way they try to portray this, or the way they portray this visually, is they just start shaking the camera a lot, and it looks so terrible. It's like there's a magnitude 7.8 earthquake occurring in downtown Toronto for like 30 seconds, and then it stops. But yes, he's psychic. He delivers the monologue. He kills Sigourney Weaver's son, and the movie ends.
Very well said. So, Mike, what did you think of Red Lights?
Yeah, I guess before I get into my final thoughts, now that the twist has been revealed, I just have to ask.
Oh yeah, say your thing. So, what was it that you were confused by?
Well, one, there was the scene that I described, that we both described in Tom's apartment, where he wakes up at 2 a.m. and he's running around like manically yelling "Silver, Silver," and I'm thinking to myself, well, he doesn't know. He's trying to deduce whether or not Silver is for real or full of shit. So he doesn't actually know at this point, and he's actually the one causing all of these. Oh,
God, you're right. But he knows that, right? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, so he doesn't know if Silver is actually psychic, but he knows.
Right,
he's causing the phenomena. So
with Occam's razor, he wouldn't suspect it was Silver.
Right. So this is what this is what I don't understand.
Oh, you're right. I didn't think of that.
He's running around and he's yelling "Silver, Silver, Silver," and he comes back in to his apartment and everything's fucked up. And in retrospect, it's like, well, he killed the birds, he fucked up the apartment, and then he uses that as a pretext for dropping Elizabeth Olsen off at her parents' house, but he knows that there's no actual danger.
Right, there's no danger.
He caused it.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think of that.
So I was so confused by that. And then the other point I'll bring up was during the bathroom fight altercation with the goon, I thought to myself, because, we're only minutes away from the twist being revealed anyways, I thought, wouldn't it be a lot more effective if because the goon is so much bigger than Cillian Murphy.
Right.
If they're fighting, the goon has the upper hand, and something happens during the fight that allows Cillian Murphy
head pops.
Or like he's flung across the room or something and knocked out.
Yep.
And it's like, whoa, there's no way this could have happened naturally.
Yeah,
that's
interesting.
And that would have signaled to us like, whoa, something is really off here. And it would get us thinking, so that when the twist is revealed 2 minutes later, it wouldn't feel quite as out of left field, but it's totally insane. Yeah. The twist recontextualizes the entire film, but it's so stupid. It's really something.
I have to agree. It is really, really good.
So with that, I guess I'll get into my final rating of Red Lights.
Do. Yep.
Listen, man, this was a really good, bad movie. I had a great time watching it. It was just constantly overshooting its ambition in a way that I found extremely entertaining. I thought it was more entertaining than Godsend. It was way more entertaining than Hide and Seek. I think it is the best of the schlocky De Niro thrillers or horror films that we've seen so far on the podcast. It thinks it's smarter than it actually is. And I think that a dumb movie that thinks it's smart is a lot more entertaining than a smart movie that thinks it's smarter than it is. Like a Midsommar is like what I'm kind of, drawn to in my mind because it's schlock. it's schlock that is pretending to be a high-minded intellectual thriller. It has such a serious presentation, but the ideas are so flimsy. The performances are over the top. It made no sense to kill Sigourney Weaver halfway through because she was the emotional core of the film. I think the twist was totally out of left field, and I guess it made sense considering all the weird shit we saw up until that point, but I thought it was so ridiculous and really muddied the point that the film seemed like it was trying to make. So overall, I had a really fun time watching it. I really enjoyed the vibes, and I give it a 3 out of 5.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. I'm
like
really surprised.
It is a Rocky and Bullwinkle tier film, which I also gave a 3 out of 5, where it's like, this is not good, but I had a really great time watching it. Personally. That's all I can say.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree at all.
I had a feeling, man.
You've made a great case for it, and I feel a little mournful that I wasn't in the same headspace as you while I was watching it, apparently, because I feel like maybe I should have felt the same way that you did, but I just didn't. And that's kind of a bummer. But no, I didn't feel any of that stuff. I think that headspace was certainly likely a large part of it, but I think probably another part is that I really do enjoy elevated horror, right? That's not something that I feel the same way as you about. And so I'm not really looking to enjoy something that does what elevated horror does differently. I think badly, as you would acknowledge. Like, I think that it just kind of made me wish that I was watching a more competent elevated horror film, to be honest. But that's a different kind of experience for me to have, I guess, than you. Another thing that I want to seize on here is, and it's really interesting hearing you talk about this, and I really do think that it's just because you experienced this in a totally different way than I did. I hated the cinematography and the way that it was directed and the way that it was paced, like everything about how propulsive it was. Like, and I think I just wasn't finding it funny. I think that's the big issue. But like, for me, I just found all of that stuff about it artistically and technically so jarring because the tension that it was in with what the story was about. And it really just... Yeah, I really didn't enjoy this one, honestly. And when I told you that you should watch it, I was only like halfway through it, and I thought I was going to end up liking it more. Yeah, I really didn't. So I'm going to give it 1.5 stars.
Wow.
This is like a rare, like huge divergence between us. Yeah, I'm really surprised.
Wow. This, you might remember during our Godsend episode, one of the early classics of this podcast, I was hooked in the beginning of Godsend because of how audacious the child's death was. And I was hoping that the rest of the film would follow in that scene's tone, and I was let down because the rest of the film is pretty like boring and low key in comparison. In Red Lights, I was hooked from the seance in the opening scene, and it maintained that same level of like over the top self-seriousness that I was constantly entertained by it. It never lost that energy for me. And I think that's why I'm so soft on it, even though, listen, it's not good, but I had a fun time watching it.
I think I preferred Godsend, honestly.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You should put the bumper sticker on your Honda Accord.
Yeah. Wish I was watching Godsend. That would be really funny to put on my lease.
That would be really funny.
They're going to have to scrape off the Our Hero De Niro Wish I Was Watching Godsend bumper sticker.
And I will say that a friend of the pod, Philip, a.k.a. Lips, basically split the difference between us and gave it a 2.5 out of 5.
There you go. Yep. Yes, I saw that, and I was surprised to hear that you gave it a higher rating than Philip. And so with that, I suppose it really leaves you with a lot of different directions you could go with your recommendation, I guess. Do you have anything you would recommend instead of, or perhaps in addition to, Red Lights?
Yeah, I was really torn between 2 films this week, but I have to go with the one that I've seen more recently. It's not necessarily about the same thing, but I felt some connections when I was watching Red Lights. So I'm going to recommend the 2000 M. Night Shyamalan film Unbreakable, starring Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson.
Love that movie.
Yeah, I watched it per your recommendation way back when, a couple of years ago, and I can't believe I slept on it for so long because I think it's one of the greatest superhero films of all time. And, unlike Red Lights, Unbreakable is very much a movie about accepting, like choosing to believe, like accepting that belief, whereas Red Lights is more murky in that regard, but it's a superhero film that has this like indie art house sensibility, where Bruce Willis plays, he's a security guard, right? Who slowly discovers these superhuman abilities. You know, Unbreakable is this film that it reframes the superhero idea as a psychological question of what happens when belief in yourself becomes unavoidable. It's very much about Bruce Willis's character, choosing to accept things about himself and really become who he is. It's a very restrained, patient film. It's just such a well done Shyamalan film, truly one of his finest movies, and I highly recommend Unbreakable. What about you, Mike?
Well, it's no signs. I'm just kidding. Unbreakable is much better than Signs.
Okay. I can't verify that. I've never seen Signs.
Yeah. Great recommendation. I have a much more, I guess, boring, obvious recommendation. But what I thought of while I was watching this was the 1991 Jonathan Demme film, Silence of the Lambs. I kind of chuckled to myself when you mentioned Hannibal Lecter earlier. I don't know what really needs to be said about Silence of the Lambs. It's obviously like proto-elevated horror to a certain extent, right? And I think that specific treatment of the Hannibal Lecter story and universe is so ahead of its time in that way, isn't it? Like films like that really weren't being made in the early 90s. And it really kind of, I think, tread a lot of ground that would be tread much more in later years, right? By folks like Ari Aster, and others, to our discussion about Hereditary and Midsommar. And it's just a beautiful film. What I reflected on while I was watching Red Lights, as I thought about Silence of the Lambs, is how much better Silence of the Lambs manages its tone and pacing in service of the emotional experience that Demme wants the viewer to have. He really oscillates between more frantic, frenzied, thrilling tone and these more quiet, sort of contemplative moments with the characters. And it really does a very good job of making the viewer feel, I think, what he and the other creative folks want the viewer to feel during these different sequences in a way that cut for me a really clear contrast to Red Lights. They're not about the same thing, so this isn't really a thematic recommendation. This is, I guess, more of an aesthetic or genre recommendation to a certain extent. But if somehow you've never seen Silence of the Lambs, I would strongly recommend it. I guess the one thing I will say is, it has some regressive gender politics that resulted in me actually docking it a half star from 5 to 4.5 stars last time I saw it. What's fascinating about Silence of the Lambs and its regressive gender politics is it's actually based on a book, which I read before I watched the film most recently, about 1.5 years ago. And the book does such a better job of treating the gender politics than the film does, even though it was written like 10 years earlier. Okay. And it's really fascinating. Like the film is incredibly transphobic in the way that it addresses those issues. And the book goes out of its way actually to ensure that it contextualizes the character of Buffalo Bill as not somebody who is actually experiencing gender dysphoria, and that like I think that he actually, like Thomas actually says in the text that like these kinds of things get used by people with regressive gender ideologies to paint people who are like gender nonconforming in a hateful way, and that also oftentimes people with these kinds of psychiatric problems will I think seize on having a unique gender presentation as like a way to draw sympathy to themselves. Like it was just a totally different way of treating that issue from the way the film does. I feel like the film is, it doesn't have great gender politics, but still a great movie. Strongly recommend it. There you go.
Yeah, good pick. Good recommendation.
And so with that, we move on to the roll, right, Mike? What are you hoping to roll this week?
Normally we would say Silver Linings Playbook, whatever. However, I'm pretty sure it was last time maybe you mentioned the possibility of wanting to roll Limitless. And, you didn't roll Limitless, but maybe I can. So I would really like to roll number...
I would love to roll Limitless.
I'm
kind of more excited for it than I am for Silver Linings Playbook, honestly, now that I thought of that.
I don't actually ever want to rewatch Silver Linings Playbook. It's like a joke. But I would really love to roll number 37, Limitless. I'm going to roll now. Definitely not. I rolled Number 17, the 1989 film Jackknife. Never heard of this film in my life, but it is a 1989 American film directed by David Jones and starring Robert De Niro, Ed Harris, and Kathy Baker. The film focuses on a complex tension between people in a close family relationship. Sure. Looks like it was a box office bomb, and it has a 64% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
great cast, though.
Yeah, I mean, great cast, and I'll tell you what, it's only 102 minutes long, so that'll be real nice for us.
I might watch it tonight.
We had to do it sometime. Yeah, sure. Jackknife will be next episode's film.
That's great. And with that, I would like to read us out. I'd like to thank all of you, loyal citizens of De Niro Nation, for joining us week in and week out on this journey. I'd like to thank you, Mike, my wonderful co-host, for being on this journey with you. With me, with all of us. I want to thank my beautiful wife, friend of the pod, wife of the pod, former guest of the pod, Caroline, a.k.a. Bad Cree, for our podcast art. And I would like to invite you, loyal listeners, citizens of De Niro Nation, perhaps future citizens of De Niro Nation, to subscribe and rate us on your podcast listening platform of choice. 5 stars only, please. We really, really need this. And I would invite you to peruse our social media links and follow us at your leisure at allmylinks.com/ourherodeniro and write us about literally anything at ourherodeniro@gmail.com. And hope you will all join us next week for Mike's recap of Jackknife, starring Robert De Niro.
See you later, everyone.
Goodbye.